Is asking a pretty good question. If we own 100% of the float and we are not selling, then what are we getting when we drop money into AMC and GME? You guys are here asking the question, is what we have real? Is what we have to buy and sell real when it comes down to the DD you guys are asking for? This is one that's saying there are no shares left. Every share being bought is synthetic. We have been asking about how to calculate outside of what Ortex is able to give us, right? We have data. We do have data. It's about 20%, give or take, a margin of error for both AMC and GME, and yet that number could be much, much larger. So I want you guys to focus on this DD by Creand. Said that it should be his last DD. Watch until the end because there's some fun stuff at the end of this video, and give it a full attention because it might be a case for GME, but it does apply to the synthetic shares that exist for AMC. If you guys like the AMC video that just came out, this one is going to jump into what I said that Ortex cannot calculate, which is FTD cycles. So really briefly, we already even talked about the 4 different ways you can play options and what they are utilized for. And specifically, we're going to talk about what they're utilized for by the short whales, the people that we are fighting against, the citadels, and the other hedge funds that are pushing the negative pressure on GME and AMC. Out of the money puts, right? These are puts that are currently not in the money. You don't have the ability to exercise them and actually make money on them. This is used to hide their SI percent. Right? The shorters are using them to hide their SI percent from the world. The main counter argument to the mother of all short squeeze is that SI percent is 20%. They covered. However, if you're a shorter and you hide your SI percent, you can push that narrative that you covered and hope people sell. So by pushing that SI percent down on places that officially report it, like the FINRA report, and the places that try to scrape the data, like Ortex, this is the current consensus. In the money puts, number 2 is used to flash crash the price. And we had seen that. Right? We even warned about that multiple times for GME. On March 10th is a notable one, but for AMC as well, as recently as yesterday, we talked about the $15 put wall. Right? They're meant to create this wall to hurt the price in a rapid succession pattern. Out the money calls. These are used by large players who want a profit. So we have seen some pretty impressively risky gambling by people who buy out of the money calls. Overall, if you see on the options chain $800 calls, these people want to make money, but oftentimes they're just giving money straight up to the hedge funds who are just waiting to cash in on that, on the risky bets that people make for out of the money calls. And then in the money calls, this is the star of the show. We are looking for shorters to filter the synthetic shares through and satisfy their FTDs. The FTD infinite cycle, infinite stock loop. So we're looking at these options have an effect on the price because they're immediately exercised so that the shares can be delivered. They're been given from hedge fund to Citadel or vice versa, and we're going to explain that in just a second. Most important finding is that shorts are full. So we are going to walk through this briefly, right? You don't have the time to be able to run through this entire thing, but I do recommend checking this link in the link down below. We have 3 parts of the FINRA short interest reporting. Remember, we waited all day for these FINRA short reports in the very beginning of the cycle. Now we have Ortex, so it's a little bit more of a daily check-in, but we have settlement date, due date, and exchange receipt date. You want to make sure that your short positions are hidden by the settlement date so that it pops up to the world on the receipt date. For example, if they open up a mountain of out the money puts prior to January 29th settlement, upon February 29th, the SI percent dropped like a rock. This is just an example. But as long as the short positions are hidden or covered by the settlement date, then the receipt date will not take those into account. So we have a couple of figures to make it a little bit clearer. But just take a look. Each of these green boxes refers to a period directly before these settlement dates, right? Number 1, retail starts buying. I'm going to describe this process while you take a look at this picture. Retail starts buying. Citadel creates synthetics to match this and buy pressure because there's no liquidity / no shares available. This negates buy pressure. Any additional shorts, I borrow desk, for example, helps drive the price downward. Number 2, retail doesn't get their shares delivered. FTDs start piling up. The synthetics created in number 1, the shorts that remain open in number 1 need to be hidden by the next short interest report date. Otherwise, it will pump the SI percent up again. The FTDs must be satisfied as well, or it starts unwinding their massive web of poopy, of BS. They feed these synthetic into deep in the money calls that are then purchased up, exercised, and used to satisfy the FTDs that were created by retail buying. The process drives the price up. Retail now owns more fake shares, and their overall short position continues to grow. Right, so a combination of 1 and 3. So we just described process retail starts buying, and number 3, feeding the synthetics into these deep in the money calls. They cancel the downward pressure on the price. GME creates a higher low as long as the retail didn't sell. If you look at the GME price chart, you'll notice that it continues to create a higher floor between each SI report cycle. Basically, the true GME price is revealed after 1 and 3 cancel each other out, because it shows how retail buying increased the price relative to the prior SI report cycle. So all this to say is that they are slowly gathering more and more shorts, and you can see here that the lows continue to increase. Low here, low here, low here, low here, slowly rising up the ladder, and this is creating a true price of GME, for example, right, could be also referred to as AMC, up and slowly uncovering the layers of mammoth poop on top of the price action here. So in that sense, we have the ability to take the FTD calculations from these deep in the money calls, right? We're assuming that they're not used to hide FTDs, but rather used to satisfy them immediately. So if we take that in relationship, as a speculation, remember, this is a calculation of FTDs. No one has a clear understanding of exactly how many synthetic shares there are. But if we do quick math on that, that's 27,000 contracts times 100. Shares per contract, 2.5 million synthetic shares from March 1st to March 11th. That's a week and a half. All right. So in that sense, we are able to jump all the way through from January, February, March, and now we are seeing a total of the calculation of, drumroll please, 42 million synthetic shares being created between January 7th and April 1st. So we're being conservative here, but if we assume 100% of the volumes were accounted for, that gives us 142 million synthetic shares. So even if we continue to work with the conservative number, if we consider 55 million total float, that is an SI percent of 218%. Right? And the theoretical SI can also reach as high as 400%. Oh dear God, that's a lot of tendies indeed. So that was a brief breakdown on when people ask the question, what are we even buying? What is the point of these synthetic shares? All shorts must cover. And as they continue to aggregate more and more shorts, they are absolutely irrevocably in the deep end. And they're hoping that we start to give up and stop paying attention. But we're not going to stop. We are going to continue. And if you want to join us, we just got 81,000 subscribers this week alone. So let's head on up to 100,000 subscribers. And if you guys hadn't yet commented out which like you are on this video, go ahead. We're looking for 1,200 on this video. Now, for Professor Meatball and my sake, go ahead and take a look at this fun surprise here. We have, if you guys weren't aware, a merch store from a couple of weeks ago. Actually, at this rate, it's been a month or so. And that has Meatball, let's see, andrewmomoney.com. That has little meatball shorts on it. So let me take a look here. You go to apestrong.com, meatball shorts right here, money ball snapback hats. We have diamond hand extra comfy hoodies here. So if you guys wanted to take a look, that I almost never talk about it, but that is an opportunity down in the description below for andrewmomoney.com. And you can get even official art on meatball subs on a mug or the cartoon versions of us. I really do want to appreciate you guys for sticking to this part of the video. Thanks to those of you who support us on Patreon. If you want to join us in the end screen, the Moon Platoon, the Grillionaire, and the Meatball Space Legend tier, we got you covered. So for all of us, in the bottom of our heart, have a great Friday, and we'll see you in the money. Peace.